You're listening to Little Green Cheese, episode 95. Well, welcome back, curd nerds. I'm Gavin Weber, and this podcast is where you can learn about cheese making at home. I had the pleasure of interviewing a lovely lady called Patricia Gauci in this week's podcast episode. It was part of the 12 Hours of Cheese live stream, and we talked about so many cheesy things. She lives in Halifax, Nova Scotia, over on the east coast of Canada, and yeah, it's a unique sort of climate with some dairy, and well, instead of me talking about it, let's have a listen to the interview with Patricia Gauci. And it's lovely to see you face to face for the first time.
Yes, and hear the voice behind all of the smart-ass comments that I typed in the chat.
I wouldn't say they're smart-ass comments, Patricia. I think they add to the community.
Yeah, thanks.
That's all right. And yeah, you've been in the chat for years, I would think.
Yeah, since about 2018 or so.
Yes, I can't remember when I did the first live stream, but it was probably about then, 2018, 5 years ago. Yeah, it's a long time. But yeah, fantastic. But yeah, you've been making cheese since when? How long?
It depends how you look at it.
Tell the story.
In its modern incarnation, I've been making it since sometime in 2018. But truth be told, I made my first cheese back in the early 90s when I got interested in doing Indian cooking.
Yeah.
And one of my cookbooks had a recipe in it for paneer, which was dead easy to make. And so that was the first cheese. But I didn't make that with the thought of, I'm now going to make cheese. I did it with thinking, this is how I can improve on my Indian cooking and slide the meat out and introduce other forms of protein to the menu. So, I guess I've always been very interested in DIY stuff at home. I love to cook from scratch.
Yeah.
And with an interest in scratch cooking, I've accumulated various books that deal with how to do this from scratch and how to do that from scratch. So pickling or charcuterie, although I haven't done that.
Yeah.
I'll show you a couple of the things that I had as inspirations.
Yeah, sure. Hang on, I'll make you bigger and I'll make me smaller. Right, other way around. Right. There we go.
All right, so this is an America's Test Kitchen supplement. I don't even know if you can buy it anymore. And that's exactly what it is. It's just an inspiration of all stuff you can do at home.
Yeah.
So preserves and pickles and then it has this section on cheese that includes feta and chèvre and ricotta. So I had that on the shelf.
Yeah.
And the second bit of inspiration was this book.
Oh goodness me, that's old.
It looks older than it is. It's actually a modern publication written in a very old style.
Right.
And in this thing, they'll teach you how, and the way they write it is in the same style as you would find something like Mrs. Beeton's cookbook. It's a very antiquated way of presenting things with very imprecise measurements and more of a style than a method. So, how to make your own broom, how to make a cob oven.
How to make a broom?
Yeah.
All right, for sweeping.
Yeah.
Right. I didn't hear you right, I didn't think.
Fermentation things, including making your own soy sauce. Anyway, and then there's a section in there on cheese, which touches on feta. It touches on quick mozzarella, paneer. What else does it touch on here? Even some of the blooming rind cheeses. are in here.
Nice. And were they easy to follow, those recipes?
Oh, I never touched them.
Oh.
No, not a chance. No, I just had them as inspiration. And when I really wanted to see if it could be done, I started looking on the internet. That's when I found you.
Oh, there you go. Right. So you didn't touch those cheeses. Right. Fantastic. So what was the very first cheese you made, Patricia? Besides
the paneer?
Yep. Moving on into the future. There we go.
Bel
Paese. It's a great cheese, isn't it?
Oh, well,
No,
actually, it was feta.
Oh, right.
It was feta because you can make feta so easily, and I made my molds out of plastic containers, and it doesn't take much in the way of weight to get it going and that sort of thing. So really, it was feta. The first one I made that used a cheese form, that was Bel Paese.
Oh, right. Okay. Nice. So that so was that using the mold that you bought from me, or not? You made it was your own mold, your basket.
No, the basket was the 165 millimeter one that I got from you.
What a lovely basket.
Yeah. and I was able to make that in time for Christmas of 2018. And then Santa Claus made me a press.
Oh, did he? Yes.
Yeah.
So, right. Okay. So, how is it? What's this press like? Oh, goodness me! Now we got dogs. Hang on, the dogs have gone. Thank goodness for that. Thanks, Kim. Right, that was Kim getting the dog. Sorry, mate. So yeah, press.
No worries. The press uses the same 50-pound spring that you use in your press, and it's very similar to the one that you have. Yeah.
Nice. So no copyright pending, thank goodness. No.
That's good. I don't have a consortium that's going to descend on me or anything like that.
No, I won't be sending you a cease and desist, so that's fine.
As a relief.
Yeah. So what other cheeses? So that was your first one, and then were you kind of hooked after you made that, or did it take a while?
No. I mean, once I got the press, I couldn't be stopped. There was a cheese once every 2 weeks. Really, another thing that helped to get me started was coming across a source of non-homogenized cow's milk here.
Yeah.
So it's not raw, but it's not homogenized. And that makes such a difference, I find, in the yield. So it's more encouraging than simply trying to use the grocery store stuff that is homogenized.
Yeah.
So it's a bit more expensive to get it that way. It's just greater incentive to keep the whey and use it and make whey ricotta and get as much out of the milk as I can. So yeah, the feta, the reason the feta was the first one is that I actually have a very good source of goat milk. Our grocery store, like our regular super store, carries goat milk, two different brands of goat milk.
That's incredible.
So it's it's easy peasy, and it doesn't matter that it's homogenized or not homogenized. They're both the same, really. Yeah,
exactly. Especially with goat's milk, where the cream never floats to the top anyway, because the fat globules are smaller than cow's milk. So, it says on they're homogenized, it's not. They're not real. They don't treat. They just heat treat it, and that's it. They don't filter it. So it's not ultra pasteurized, which is a surprise, because a lot of the goat's milk here in Australia is either reconstituted powdered goat's milk, or and then they put it in a carton, and then you can't use it for cheese making, or they ultra pasteurize it because it sits on the shelf so long. Not many people buy it compared to cow's milk. So that's good to know.
Yeah, I don't know if it's a Canadian thing, but I've never seen ultra pasteurized milk of any description here.
Oh, okay. Yeah, it was. Probably they started doing it here in Australia about 5 years ago, and it was for things that didn't sell very fast, or milk products that didn't sell very fast, so they can keep them on the shelf longer. So, but yeah, they're a disgrace as far as I'm concerned, because they take the flavour out of everything. They taste horrible, the ultra pasteurised milk, and including UHT, the ultra heat treated stuff that you get in the Tetra Pak. The only good thing it's good for making is ricotta and And would you believe yogurt? It makes a good yogurt because the proteins have been denatured already. So what other cheeses? So besides the feta and then all the semi-hard cheeses you make, have you ever made a cheese that you've created yourself?
Yes, I think I have. I've always based them off something else. But the first one I can say that I laid claim to was called Nova Scotia Strong.
Right.
And that was a cheese that we had a terrible mass murder here in Nova Scotia. It's the worst mass murder in Canadian history, and it happened early in the pandemic in 2020. So sorry about the sound. I don't live with demons. Those are my cats.
Oh, right.
Well,
I can hear them. They're fighting.
No. No, that's an affectionate sound.
Oh, right.
They're siblings, and they tussle sometimes. Anyways, yeah, it was. I made it to mark the occasion, if you want to say that. The colors of the Nova Scotia flag are white, yellow, blue, and red. So I made this cheese that was based on Shropshire Blue.
Yeah.
But I used a marbling technique to get a yellow and a white cheese with blue veining. And then I included some red berries in it as well. So that was the first cheese that I made myself.
And how did that taste?
It was amazing.
Yeah.
And Shropshire Blue is one of those ones that you can actually vacuum pack.
Yeah. After the blues formed, I did that as well. Yeah.
Yeah. So that lasted a good long time, and that was a beautiful cheese. Other ones based on the Humboldt fog, as you know, I came up with the idea of fundy fog, and that uses a cow milk rather than a goat milk.
Yes, that video will be out soon. Thank you so much for the recipe. I did have a little bit of trouble with the maturation of it, and it wasn't your fault, it was mine. I put too much salt on the top and bottom. So instead of spreading it all over the cheese, so it's got bald patches on the top and the bottom. It did the white mold didn't grow all over it properly. So it grew on the sides where I didn't put all the salt, but where I put too much salt on top and bottom. So it's going to look a little bit bald. So I'll call it the bald fundy fog. But I can tell I think it's aged to 60 days. It's been 60 days since I made it. So I'm going to crack it open tomorrow and film the rest of that video and get that out. So I will sing your praises if this cheese is going to taste amazing. So that'll be fun. So I'll show the whole world how I butchered your recipe and made fundy. But yeah, I was amazed to find that did you go and buy some Humboldt fog to see what it tasted like before you made it?
I've never tasted it.
Oh, okay.
No.
Because it's out of California.
It's an American cheese. Yeah, it's an American cheese, and it's based out of the Humboldt County in California. And no, I've never seen it here. If it makes its way into Canada, it probably just stays mostly on the West Coast, I would think. I'm on the East Coast, so yeah. Montreal is a firm barrier between the rest of Canada and us. It seems things just kind of stop at Montreal.
All right.
So, yeah.
Is there a reason behind that? Because they speak French, or?
No, nothing to do with the province or the city. It's just kind of the last major city before you hit the Maritimes.
Oh, right. Okay.
Yeah.
Because you're out on the coast, and is Nova Scotia an island?
Not really. No, Nova Scotia is more of a peninsula.
Right. So it is connected.
Yeah. It's connected by a peninsula to New Brunswick.
Right.
But it has a lot of attributes of an island. It's because there's the only way in and out really is to either fly in, come in by boat, or to go across that little joining into New Brunswick. So it's a bit of an aside, but this is actually a really cool part of the world to go antiquing. Yeah. Because people brought stuff here and it doesn't find its way out.
Oh, right. So does it have a big a dairy industry in Nova Scotia? Is there a big dairy industry there, or is there pasture, or what sort of climate and that sort of thing is there?
The climate is variable depending on what part of the province you're in. There is some dairy. It's a dairy that produces the milk that I buy to make cheese. That's a dairy that's in the Annapolis Valley. The Annapolis Valley section of Nova Scotia is very fertile, and it's kind of its own microclimate. It's become really well known for winemaking. They've grown apples and other fruit there for years. There's a section of the province that's really big on blueberries. So there's various types of agriculture and in different parts of the province.
Yeah.
And then all along the coast, it's just mostly rocks.
And gets very cold in winter.
It gets okay cold. I wouldn't think it's very cold.
So not like your Northwest Territories cold.
Well, not even like the prairies cold. I lived on the prairies for 14 years before I moved here. I lived in a city called Edmonton, which is it's not as far north as Northwest Territories, but it's further north than most of the major cities in Canada.
Yeah.
And it's, minus 25 every day for a week during the winter is de rigueur. Yeah. Someone who's on the regular chat here is from Edmonton. I can't remember if it's Jim or one of the Canadians who's always in the chat. He lives in Edmonton. So,
I'm not sure. Speak up or forever hold your peace if you're in the chat. There is a guy, Ian Trower, who has a cheese factory in Edmonton. So I don't know. So I don't know how he gets milk in the wintertime. So that if it's snowing and cold, unless they house the cows indoors. I'm not sure how it works in a cold climate.
It would be indoor. Yeah, it would for sure. Canadians are really good at building buildings.
Right.
Like we know how to keep warm in the winter. We know how to keep cool in the summer. Climate building is something we're good at.
Oh, okay.
So and where there's a will, there's a way. If you want to raise cattle on the prairies, you'll build things so they'll survive.
Yeah, indeed. Now that's really good. Yes. Well, I wanted to find out about the area. So it seems like it's a bit of a mix of everything. So that's fantastic. So when you've been making cheese using wherever you get the recipes from, and obviously not that book that you showed me, but when you do make the cheeses, what are some of the challenges, or have you had some cheeses that have just been total disasters and you've come back from them somehow, like Lazarus maybe, and tell me about it.
I remember when you made Lazarus.
Right. Lazarus's Cabin. Yeah, what a funny cheese.
That was it.
Yeah.
I did. I made one that was a disaster because it was too salty, and it was before I had started logging my cheeses and writing down what I did, so I can't even remember what kind of cheese I was making.
Yeah.
But it was one where I forgot to add the salt, and I added it afterwards, or I broke the cheese apart and added it. Anyways, it ended up way too salty.
Yeah.
And I've forgotten what I called that cheese. I had a name for it as well. It'll come to me. But so that was a disaster, and I saved it, and I kept adding it to various dishes, like cooked savory dishes, like a macaroni and cheese or something like that. And I would just cut back on the salt that I would add to the rest of the dish.
All right. Yes.
And it was fine.
I bet it was. Yeah.
It was just terrible table cheese.
They put it on a platter.
Yeah. I made a fontina that was a disaster. It was it turned out really, really bitter, awful, foul tasting, and it was moldy on the outside as well. So that was actually an affinage problem.
Right.
I've learned that I need to pay much closer attention to the cheeses when I'm aging them.
Yes, I learned that the hard way as well. Yes, If you forget about a cheese for even 2 weeks sometimes, Depends on, what it is. So the ones that are vacuum packed, you can forget about them. Doesn't matter. Just turn them. But if you're doing a natural rind, or you're doing a any sort of mold ripened cheese, whether it be a washed rind or a white one or blue, tell you what, if you neglect them, they're like children. If you neglect them, they'll go off the rails.
They're worse than children. They're like cats.
Yes.
Right,
yeah.
cat?
Neglect the cat, and they'll jump up on your lap and scratch you. Show us your cat.
Come here, Zim. Zim, come here. Well, you want to. They'll be here in a minute.
Right. Yeah, don't work with children and animals.
So that Fontina had to go into the bin. There was no saving that one, really.
Right.
And I've had two episodes with coliform contamination.
Oh, okay. So early blown.
Yeah.
Right. Was it from the milk, do you think? Did you use raw milk or not?
I've never had access to raw milk. No, all my milk has been pasteurized. I think with the first one, which was a halloumi, and that was kind of weird, because halloumi, you're supposed to put it in some sort of liquid and heat it up, and then it'll float.
Yeah.
Yeah, so I dropped it in liquid and it just floated, and went, oh, there's something very wrong with this cheese.
Full of air bubbles then, yeah.
Yeah, it was honestly like a sponge.
So
with that one, I think...
I was going to say, were you making like sourdough at the same time, or any yeast infection? Any yeast in the kitchen? No?
Not yeast, no. Someone on the Learn to Make Cheese site suggested that it may have been from the dishwasher, because I put all my stuff in the dishwasher. Yeah, and he said that he worked in some sort of commercial setting, and they had a problem with coliform in the dishwasher.
Goodness.
So I've been much more particular about sanitizing my stuff after I've dishwashed it. And I don't count on that working. It all goes into Star San, or it gets boiled or something now.
Yeah.
The other incidents of the coliform happened really recently. Remember I started that series of cheeses that were Sweeney Todd? Yeah.
They were great.
Yeah, and one of them was called Royal Marine, and it had Szechuan peppercorns and dried orange rind in it.
Yeah.
Oh, it tasted so good. I was so sick.
Yeah.
I can't describe how I went. The next day I went, oh, I think I know what that was from. So I suspect.
Did it have the visible signs of the small, tiny sponge-like bubbles, or not? Or was it just contaminated with something?
The raw marine cheese, I made such a small amount. I made it in one of the New England cheese making molds. It's little. It's about this big around and about that tall. So cutting into it, I didn't see all these little holes.
Oh.
But the cheese was really soft. It had a soft texture to it, which in retrospect it probably should not have had. And I don't mean soft like cream cheese. I mean, like squishy.
Yeah, like a sponge. Yeah.
Yeah.
No good. But we live and learn, right?
Oh, yeah. So I reckon that contamination probably came from the inclusions, either the Szechuan peppers or the orange peel, or both.
Right, yes. So it could have been yeast as well, and maybe not. So it could have been a wild yeast that was bad on the peppers, or who knows?
Do you think that would have made you sick?
It could have been a wild yeast, because the early blown can be caused by either wild yeast or coliform, which coliform's bad because it will make you really sick. Wild yeast can make you sick as well, so depending on what gets in. So, but if the holes were really tiny and it looked sponge-like, then it was probably coliform from some there. Yeah, what can you do? Anyway, so any more? Was that enough?
As far as personal challenges go, I've never been brave enough to make mozzarella or any pasta filata cheese.
Yeah,
Fear of failure.
You should try. You should try the Oaxaca, because It's more on the firmer side of pasta filatas. You stretch it a bit, but you stretch it so you can roll it into the tennis ball size thing. But I've made that about 3 times now, and it's less prone to failure, if that makes sense. The quick mozzarella is difficult as far as I'm concerned. Some people can just make it, but then they make it once, great, and then it doesn't work, and then they can't figure out why it doesn't work. So, so if you want to give one style a go, try that Mexican string cheese. I think it's easy enough. Give it a go. What can you waste? 4 liters and your time?
All that milk that I am so skinflinty on that I keep all the way and make mozzarella or make ricotta out of it.
Well, you could always make if it doesn't work for whatever reason, but it's going to set, right? You've got that down pat. You've made some fantastic cheeses, Patricia. So I'm sure that the curd will set. It may not stretch. If it doesn't stretch, just put it in a mold and press it, and salt it, and it'll be a lovely cheese.
Fair enough.
Give it a go. Give it a go. You got my stamp of approval to give it a go, right? All right, fantastic.
I hate everything else.
So there's some of the challenges. Any other challenges besides the pasta filata ones that you haven't had a go yet?
Well, I did make the stabilized paste camembert.
Yeah.
And it came out like a hockey puck. It was
rock hard.
It wasn't very it wasn't very camembert at all. So I think I would probably stick with making a traditional camembert the next time, like a traditional mold ripened. Yeah, I think that's probably what I would do next time. See, I made a brie, and it turned out really, really well. And I even figured out how to flip that long, flat cheese without breaking it. I got that figured out too. So yeah, I could probably make another camembert and not worry about doing the stabilized paste version.
Look, it's some people use it because they want a longer shelf life for it. I only tried it because that's some of the camemberts we get here, or pretend camemberts, we get here in Australia are made in that style, and people don't know what a runny camembert looks like, which is why I've made all the different types. So I've made that stabilised paste one, which I got from the Giannicholas Caldwell book, the Artisan Cheese Making one, the really thick book that has all the technical details and stuff in there. And I thought, well, I'll give it a go because that's what we get in the supermarket here. Rarely do we get a runny camembert like the French get, made with, raw milk, or like I used in the instance, I used that stuff made by a cow that we get here, the cold pressed milk, which is not available anywhere else that I know of. But that's a raw style milk because it hasn't been heat treated, and that created the perfect camembert. So runny, so lovely. So in your experience with the brie, how did you flip it without breaking it? Because the first brie I ever made, it broke in half.
I used a hoop from New England cheese making that
big one.
It didn't. Yeah. And I think it has a bottom on it, but it also has a follower. And I punched some holes in the follower so that I could turn it upside down and it would drain through that follower.
Yeah.
So I'm just trying to remember. I know that I was able to keep that follower on that cheese and flip it and allow it to just ease down. So I wasn't really taking it out of the mold and trying to handle it and flip it. I would just flip it within the form. I have a bit of a habit of using cheesecloth when I do my white mold cheeses.
All right, yeah.
And that was a trick that I got from Job's Cheese Lab. Remember Job's Cheese Lab?
Yeah. He's kind of faded into it doesn't make videos anymore. But I wonder what happened. Like,
can't even find him on YouTube anymore. But anyways, he used to make his mold ripened cheeses with a cheesecloth because, well, first of all, he said it wicked away the moisture a lot better.
Yeah.
And the other thing was that you could pull that cheese out of the form in the cheesecloth and flip it, and you had something containing the cheese, so that it wasn't, it was just more stable.
Yeah.
And after you'd done that, flipped it a couple of times, then you could take the cheesecloth off, because by that time the thing had lost enough moisture that it would hold its shape.
Yeah.
So I'm not being very specific. It's because I don't really remember, and I could whip out my recipe and quote from it. But I know that it involved this odd combination of cheesecloth and a follower that had holes drilled into it.
Yes. Well, it's good to know, especially with the cheesecloth thing, because it will wick away some of the moisture as well, and probably make it more stable quicker, if that makes sense. Because a lot of people, I've had so many emails in from people that said my camembert has collapsed. So if you take it out of the mold too early and it's too moist, it'll just go like a big mess, flat. And that cheesecloth would help, because that will help firm it up as well. That's a great. So when you make the camemberts, do you use a hoop or do you use a basket? So the hoop without a bottom.
I've only made the one camembert, and that was the hockey puck.
Right.
So that was in a basket that had a bottom on it.
Yeah.
It's driving me crazy. I got to look it up now. I got to look at my brie and find out how I made it.
You have a special book there?
Oh my gosh.
Oh, nice. That's nice and thick.
Those are all cheeses I've made.
Nice. So do you know how many you've made while you're looking it up?
Well, more than 50. I've got a sort of a semi list of them, and there's some that I've made more than once as well. So brie.
Right.
Okay. Okay, use a skimmer to ladle slices of curd about half an inch thick into a cheesecloth-lined basket.
Right.
And the basket I used was 187 millimeter by 95 millimeter cheese basket with a perforated follower. I'm pretty sure that has a bottom on it.
Oh, okay. Do you remember where you got it from? Where you got the basket from? The hoop?
I bought it secondhand from someone who locally had been wanting to make cheese at home and
never got around to it.
Yeah, changed their mind, and they put their stuff up on Craigslist or Kijiji or something. And I wasn't looking for it. It was a friend who said, hey, there's this listing, and they were local. Nice. So they had all of these baskets that they got from New England cheese making. So that's how I came across it.
Oh, great.
Carefully remove the cheese and the cloth from the basket. Invert the basket over the cheese and the cloth so that the bottom is now on the top. Gently flip the cheese. Drain for 4 hours more. So, I mean, that's, I just mollycoddled it with cheesecloth and basket.
And the cheesecloth would have helped a lot and prevented it from cracking, because I found that when I tried to do it by hand, it wasn't very stable. And I know that the French have two boards when they make them in their big hoops in near Paris. What's it called? Brie de Mou. Oh, I can't even bloody say the word. MEUX. How do you say that in English? In French?
Brie de Mou.
That'll do. And well done. It must be your French Canadian coming out. And
there's a lot of French folk in here.
And they flip the boards, so they have boards to do it as well. And as they get more stable, they can do it by hand. So, but well done, nice. That cheesecloth is a fantastic tip. So, what are your favourite? I'll start again. What are your favourite cheeses to make, as in the process of cheese make? What style?
Oh, it sort of depends what I'm in the mood for. I still really love to make goat feta because it is so fast. It is so easy. It's ready in 4 days.
Yeah.
So there's a lot of immediate satisfaction from there, and I can, have a cheese on hand in a really short time that reads as cheese. Come out, you put it, and it's a brick, and you can put it on a plate, and you say, this is cheese, as opposed to chèvre, which is cheese, or cream cheese, which is cheese, but
it's firmer.
It's not. Yeah, it's not a brick of cheese.
Yeah.
The one that I really like to have on hand because I like to eat it is the same one that Jennifer mentioned, and that was your Cotswold that's got the chives and the onions and the garlic in it. Oh my gosh, I love that. It melts. I love a grilled cheese sandwich.
Yeah. Oh, it'd be perfect in a grilled cheese sandwich.
Yeah. And the one that I will make so that I've always got some on hand for my husband, Henry, is a stout infused cheddar. He's a huge fan of that stout infused cheddar.
It is a lovely cheese, isn't it?
It's beautiful.
It's got a richness and a body that's unlike any other cheese.
Yeah, and I love the taste of the stout comes through. We've got a lot of microbreweries around here that do really nice stouts and really nice porters. So using those local beers in my cheese is kind of a nice touch as well. I like that. Yeah. I love making a blue cheese too. Every time I've made a blue, I've been blown away by it.
Yeah, the flavors for blues are so good, and there's so many different flavors of blue, if that makes sense. Even using the same Penicillium Roquefort 40, just by doing the high moisture cheeses and the drier ones, the flavor that the Penicillium Roquefort 40 provides the cheese is just. It's so extreme, the different. You can get one that burns your tongue. You can get them that are so mild and creamy, and it's all using the same mold. So,
yeah, and using a different kind of milk made a difference too. I made your Blue Me Goat Blue was the first one that I made.
Yeah.
And what a brilliant flavor combination that is.
Yeah, and no veining in mine it didn't have it because I never pierced it, right? But the flavor was still there. Yeah.
It was, and the flavor was there in the Petite Blue as well, which is another one that doesn't have veining, but you've got all the blue flavor, and that one's ready really quick too, just a month or so.
Yeah, 30, 35 days or something. But yeah, that just has that skin of blue on the outside, like a camembert would have white mold. This has the blue. But yeah, I think I remember piercing those, but only just you only get a little tiny. You don't get any veining because it's so creamy, but. Yeah, it's a delicious little blue cheese.
And then making the Nova Scotia Blue, which is based on a Shropshire Blue, that was a completely different experience with blue cheese. It was essentially a hard cheese with blue veining.
Yeah.
And that was very sharp. That had a pretty good bite. That was a tricky one to put together too, talking about hoops and flipping and everything, because you have to rub them up.
It was the biggest pain. When I made it, it just fell apart. So
here's what works. Though, Gavin. Don't use a basket. Use a hoop. In fact, use two hoops.
Right.
I used two hoops piled on top of one another and taped together with masking tape on the outside.
Right.
And so when you need to get to the cheese, you pull that hoop up.
Lift it up, right.
And just expose a couple of inches, and friction will hold that hoop up there. You let it go, and you grab your hot knife and or your wet knife, and you start rubbing it up, and rubbing it up and smoothing.
Nice.
Then you raise it a couple inches and do it again. It takes forever, but by the time you've got the hoop off, the thing is completely consolidated and it's all smooth on the outside, and that's the answer.
Beautiful. Thanks for the tip. That's so good. So next, my dad loved the Shropshire Blue. He couldn't believe how bitey the blueness, the blue veins was in the cheese. Because I served that up for a Christmas cheese platter once when he was here before COVID, and it was he just loved it. He couldn't believe it. But it's an amazing cheese. I'm so glad that they included it in the fourth edition of the home cheese making, because it wasn't in the third edition, so they added some new recipes in. So I'm glad I made it. It was really good.
Yeah, it's a hard cheese to make. It's definitely an advanced cheese, but
it's not for a beginner. That's for sure.
I was taking on some really stupid cheeses though. I took on that Huntsman cheese. Remember the Huntsman cheese?
Yeah, the one where it's got a different cheese on the inside and it's wrapped with another one. Yeah.
Yeah. You make a Stilton and age it completely, and then you make a double Gloucester, and try to pull like Play-Doh, try to massage this double Gloucester around the Stilton, and it worked. But I
remember
I feel like
a video on how they did it in the commercial world, and I don't know, did they heat the double Gloucester up so it was a little bit more pliable, or how did you do it?
That video is heavily edited, so it's really hard to tell. I didn't heat it up. I just will, sheer force of will. Hey, look who's come to join me, Gavin.
Oh, you got a pussy. Hang on, I'll make it bigger. So you're in the other way. There you go. So what's the pussycat's name?
Well, this one is Zim.
Zim, Z-I-M?
Z-I-M, Zim.
Yeah.
Like Invader Zim.
All right, yes. Lovely. Boy or a girl?
This one's a little boy.
Eats cheese?
Not to my knowledge.
You don't feed it cheese.
I haven't found him up on the counter while I'm making cheese yet, no.
Oh, right. Okay. Yeah, because I know Lisa's got a cat. What's it called? Yum Yum. And, always looking at her cheese videos. So Yes, I think
she's always Yum Yum's always in shot. Sort of whenever she gets the milk out.
Yeah, always gets a drink of milk as well. Oh, somebody doesn't like something.
Zim has a brother. We call him Gur, and the two of them are just they're having an intimate moment.
Oh, right, like that. Nice. Okay. So you've got your cheese platter all set up from all your cheeses. We're doing a hypothetical, right? So you got your cheese platter all set up, and you got a selection of cheeses. What would be your perfect cheese platter, and what would you drink with that perfect cheese platter?
The perfect cheese platter would have, in the center, there would be a tub with chèvre.
Right, yep, beautiful.
All right, so that we've always have that tub with chèvre right in the middle. On the outside, I would like to have some kind of a blue cheese. Any of the blue cheeses.
Yeah.
I think it would be really nice to have, I'd say maybe my Bloomy Goat Red. Remember when I based a Bloomy Goat Red off your Bloomy Goat Blue? I put on the outside of the cheese, there was a smoked paprika.
Yes. Remember that. Yep.
All right. And one of the reasons I would want that there is because not only is it a beautiful tasting cheese, but it's a beautiful to look at cheese with that red casing around the outside, underneath the white mold. Gorgeous thing. I would want to have one of the stout-infused cheddars.
Nice.
Or one of the other alcohol-infused cheeses, because you get that eye-catching marbling. It's a sight to behold. Honestly, if the cheese tastes bad, it's got to look good.
Yeah. Hopefully they don't taste bad, but yeah.
Yeah. And what else would I have? So that's a pretty fair selection right there.
Oh, pretty good, yeah. I would do a minimum of 4.
Yeah, something mild and white, but I don't know what it would be. It wouldn't be Wensleydale though. I have to say I made Wensleydale once. And when I got to the part of the recipe where it said stir for 2 hours, that's when I decided I'm not making that cheese again.
So you said, did you finish it or?
Yep.
Right.
That was it. I almost finished what I started, but
did it taste okay?
Oh, it was great. Yeah.
Right. Yes, I've only made it twice.
I'm not making that one again.
It takes a long time. That stirring, and then as soon as you finish stirring, it's that breaking up for 2 hours as well, breaking the curds up. Oh, tell you what, Wallace and Gromit can have that cheese. All right, for the home cheese maker, sure. In a factory, go for it. Maybe that's why it nearly went extinct.
Wallace loves it because he doesn't have to make it. You see.
Yeah, true. Yeah. But
and you want to know what I would drink with it?
Yeah, what would you drink with the platter?
you know, I'm not a wine drinker. I'll have a glass of wine now and again, but I never really think to pair wine with my cheese. I'm a Scotch drinker,
Oh, right.
and I would never pair cheese with my Scotch or Scotch with my cheese.
The flavour wouldn't not a good combination, or?
I've just seen some when I was researching flavor pairings for Scotch, because we do Scotch tastings from time to time.
Yeah.
There is a suggestion that maybe cheese is a poor choice to pair with Scotch, and it's better to go with a chocolate or a ginger snap or even apple pie. But cheese is in a different realm. So no, I don't. I don't really have a beverage with my cheese.
So
if someone brings one, I'll enjoy it.
Not even a beer.
There's beer in my cheese.
Right, so you got beer in your cheese, but you don't need to drink it with it. Yeah, look, I find you're right. I don't always have a wine with the cheese. Even sometimes I pair it with cider or perry, which tastes really nice. It depends on the style of cheese. The stronger the cheese, the cider probably doesn't go too well with it. But even beer, so a nice dark ale will go nice with those stronger cheeses as well. But yeah, I hear whiskey's nice. I do like it, Scotch. But and the longer aged it is and single malt, even better still. So delicious. All right, so nearly what time is it? Oh, you've got 13 minutes. So do you have any words of encouragement that and take your time, any words of encouragement for new cheesemakers, lessons learnt in the kitchen? Oh, and one of the things I forgot to ask, where do you make your cheese? Is it just in your home kitchen?
Yeah. I don't have any other special devoted space or anything like that. No, just the home kitchen. And I'm the cook, so I'm not kicking anybody out when I make cheese there. I don't have to work around anybody. Other than if I'm making one of the the white mold cheeses where they have to drain at the side of the sink forever and ever, then then my husband's got to make toast around it and stuff like that. So there's that consideration. But otherwise, the kitchen's all mine. So where I do it all. And down in the basement, I've got 2 tiny little wine fridges, and that's where everything gets aged.
Right. Fantastic. So did you buy one wine fridge and then that wasn't enough and then you had to buy another one, or?
When Santa got me the cheese press, he got me a tiny little wine fridge. I think it holds 16 bottles or something. It's really, really wee. Yeah. And I outgrew it pretty quickly. So the second one is, it looks more like a bar fridge in size. It kind of comes up to tabletop in height. And so between those two, that's enough, because there's only 2 of us, right? I don't have kids and I don't have extended family. His family's all in Ontario. I don't have any family. The only family I have is in Australia. Okay.
All right.
You.
Nice. Cooey cobber.
Yeah.
Yeah. Cooey cobber.
Yeah.
Yes.
So, so it's not like I'm feeding a lot of cheese to a lot of people. So I don't want to keep a whole lot of cheese on hand. It's great to have it and let it age, but it would be a ridiculous pursuit for me to get a large cheese fridge.
Yeah, I've only got a small cheese. I've got one single dorm fridge. There's ones that bar fridge we call them here. That's all I got, because once it's mature, I've tasted it, then I'll either give it away to friends or we'll keep a piece ourselves and put it in the kitchen fridge, stop it from aging, because if I think it's a perfect age, I won't age it any longer. And in that door, there's those racks like you get in a proper little fridge. That's where I put the little quarter pieces if I'm going to age them for a long, long time. So so that works for me. And we don't have a heck of a lot of cheeses in the cheese fridge. It's just the ones that I've been doing the videos on, waiting to mature. So yeah. Contrary to popular belief, we don't eat a lot of cheese every single day. So same as you.
Yeah, no, we don't either. So my advice to novice cheesemakers is Well, first of all, I took a lot of inspiration from your videos.
Thank you.
I could echo everything that Jennifer said in that you are, implicitly encouraging. You're not in there saying you can do it. It's not that kind of encouragement. It's just more of there's a steady methodology to the way that you make the cheese. And the step-by-step is very, very easy to follow. And once you watch several of your videos back to back, you start to see the same patterns over and over again. And that is really encouraging. That's the sort of thing that says, I can do this. I can follow these steps and make this.
Yeah.
And impress my friends.
Thank you so much. And do you share a lot of the cheese with friends and stuff like that?
Yes, I do. I mean, anyone who trips across my doorstep usually gets something foisted on them. I'm semi-retired, so I don't work as much as I did. I was working full time in 2018, so the people I worked with always got cheese, brought to them, and they liked it. But I don't have that outlet anymore so much, so I don't really get to give it away at work. But absolutely, friends get to have it. The last time that I went back to Ontario to see Henry's family, I schlepped some cheese with me and put it all out for them to eat. So I'm a good person to know if you like cheese.
Nice.
Yeah.
And there is a secret that you have. You play an instrument that is unique. What's it called? Euphonia? You've got.
The euphonium. Oh, I thought you were going to talk about the serpent. Oh, yes.
You do to more than one instrument then.
Yeah. Euphonium. It's anyone who knows anything about brass music will know the euphonium. It's a large brass instrument. It's about half the size of a tuba. Yeah. You see them in brass bands. You see them in wind ensembles. Yeah, I've been doing that since I was a teenager.
Nice. And you sent me a photo on my birthday once with you playing because your birthday is it the same day as mine or a day after or something? Same
May
day.
23rd.
There you go. Oh, now you've told the whole world. They're going to send us presents.
Different year. I've got a few years on you,
Oh, stop it. You don't look a day over 30.
I just turned 60.
Stop it. No. It's only 2 years difference. I'll tell you what, you don't look your age, and I'm not trying to chat you up or anything there, Patricia, but
No, I get a lot of people telling me that. So.
Yes, I think even Ruth said in the comments that you look so. And Ruth's in the green room at the moment. Give us a wave, Ruth, just to see you can see me. There she is. Yes. So it's lovely to see Ruth's waiting in the green room for the next interview, and it's been so fantastic to talk to you today, Patricia.
Oh, it's been such a pleasure. Thank you so much for the invitation, and
you've been part of
not sure why you want to talk to me, but here we are.
You've been part of the Curd Nerd community for so long. It would have been criminal not to invite you on.
Sweet. It's been a complete pleasure, and again, thank you so much for the opportunity and for your interest and for your inspiration. Thank you so much for making me the cheesemaker that I am.
Thanks for that. No, you made yourself the cheesemaker you are. I just put it out there for everybody. So give yourself some credit. I think you've done a fantastic job, especially those cheeses that are just unique that you make. So well done, mate. Well done.
Well, keep working on it. There's more in the Sweeney Todd series to come.
There's so much to learn. That's what I love about cheese making. There's just so much to learn. I haven't even got to the end of what have I made? About 160 different types of cheese now. And people are still sending me recipes, and I'm still finding them. And, the channel's not going to end anytime soon. And, as I move into semi-retirement, so look, I only work about, 60 hours a week, which is 60 hours a fortnight, not a week. That'd be crazy. 60 hours a fortnight, so about 30 hours a week, on the business. So that gives me a bit of time to, do cheesy things and learn new skills and that sort of stuff. So, yeah, that's really good. But, yeah, thanks for having you on, Patricia. Thanks for coming. It's been fabulous. Lovely chat too.
Yeah, my pleasure.
All right, no problems at all. I'll move you out and say goodbye. See you
Have
later.
a great rest of the 12 hours of cheese. Bye, everyone.
Yes, we will. I'm sure we will. All right, see you later. Bye-bye. Well, thanks for listening, Curd Nerds. You'll find my cheese-making video tutorials on YouTube, and just look for Gavin Weber or type in cheeseman.tv. You can get your cheese-making kits, supplies and equipment over at our shop at littlegreenworkshops.com.au. If you'd like a personalised message from me, I am available to book via Cameo. Just search for Cheeseman TV. So stay tuned for the next exciting episode of the Little Green Cheese podcast. And I've just seen that I've clocked over 300,000 subscribers, not on this podcast, but on my main cheese channel. So I'm very proud of that. During this podcast, you heard royalty-free music by Kevin MacLeod. I played Malt Shop Bop and Call to the Dairy Cows. See you later. Bye.